Hello guys, welcome to the second video in this series. In the first video we handled the correct export and import procedures between Poser and Blender, how to create single group morphs and full body morphs. In this video the fun starts with detailing Poser meshes with a full body morph and then enhancing them with a high definition morph. A further video will treat how Poser non-pro can handle full body morphs and HD morphs. Then we will redo another video on how to create vertex groups in Blender, one I did previously. Then I propose a video on match centers to morph and how to create a teen, eventually create a monster. And a last video on how to put it all together. The purpose of this video is using Pauline, this is Pauline, and this is the same Pauline but with a full body morph and a high definition morph. That's what we're gonna create now. We start with a blank scene. No, I don't want to save that. And load up my Pauline. This is Pauline, the default Poser 11 female. It's a relatively good mesh, but as you see, there's not a lot of detail in that body. No muscle detail, no bone detail, and that is what we are going to correct now. For that, of course, I use Blender. And from the previous video we know the correct import settings for a figure. You search for the Pauline original OBJ file and you import that in Blender. This is the Pauline figure. And as you see, let me select Pauline org. It is a medium dense mesh. So you can create a nice full body morph to get the initial detail that you can further enhance afterwards with a high definition morph. As this is just a morph, we cannot add or delete any vertex, but we can use the sculpting tools in Blender to create the initial outline or the initial idea that you have about a figure. So I use the crease brush and I always use symmetry on in X, and I can start sculpting. For that you can use well, there are a lot of reference materials on the internet on how to create a figure. I forgot to put the object file in smooth. That way you can better see what you do. So I always start with enhancing the belly. Get some detail in there. I always do something on the shoulders. I always enhance the collarbones. You see, there is already something a lot more detail in the mesh. Enfin, you can sculpt whatever you want using whatever reference you want. I'm not gonna have you wait and sit there until I finish my sculpt. Of course I prepared something, so I'm gonna delete this to save time and make Pauline G visible. That I will set again to smooth. This is Pauline but sculpted and getting the bone and muscle definition in the basic figure. On purpose I did not do the back. I will save the back for the high definition morphs. This is just a full body morph that I sculpted from the default Pauline mesh, and then it's File, Export, Wavefront Object File, using the default export settings that I demoed before, only polygroups and keep verting orders checked, and there I saved Pauline G. In Poser, with the figure selected, it's figure, load full body morph, navigate to your folder, search for, in this case the Pauline G.obj, open, Okay, and here you have the full body morph. Let me set that a bit more clear. 0, 1, 1. Okay, now you have an on-off dial for the full body morph I just showed in Blender. Now we have the basic muscle shape. Now we can move on to the high definition morphs. For that purpose, in Blender, this time you can use subdivision. So I add a modifier, subdivision service, and good advice, do not go higher than 1. You don't need more than a sub D level 1. Apply, because when you look now, the mesh, you really have a very dense mesh to sculpt with. If you need more detail than this, go bump map, displacement map or normal map. I would not recommend to go higher detail in a mesh than a sub D level 1, because it will slow your PC down very seriously. But from this we can sculpt a high definition sculpt. Again, using the sculpting tools. Now you can fine-tune what you were sculpting initially. And you can really and seriously detail a mesh. You can add rib cages. Again, I'm not gonna have you wait until I finish my sculpt. I prepare the sculpt. So let me delete this one and make that one visible. This is a sculpt, a high definition sculpt, also at sub D level 1, where I added a lot of fine detail. I added a rib cage, I did the head, I added the brows, I added mouth lines, a dimple in the chin, I changed the head shape a little bit, I fine-tuned the bones, the muscles, the rib cage as I said, the knees, and I also did the back, and I added some flesh deformations on the back of the figure. So this is a sculpt at sub D level 1. File, export, wavefront object. As before, I use my export settings. I don't need those, and I saved Taolin G sub D level 1 OBJ. In Poser you have to prepare your figure to get a high definition morph. So it's figure, remove all IK, remove all IK, figure, 0 figure, to get the OBJ file back in its original state. And as you are gonna load a sub D level 1 morph, set the figure at sub D level 1. And as we started from Taolin, set Taolin to 1. So you can start with your full body morph. Then file, import, wavefront object file, and import your sculpt, Taolin G sub D1. Both object files are now in the exact same position, and using, first select the body again, using the morphing tool we can create a new morph. Let's call it HD sculpt. As go you set the sub D level 1 OBJ file, attrition points 10. I think I prefer a higher size brush to start with, magnitude 1, bake down for subdivision on, and now it's just a matter of painting over the figure to transfer the vertex positions between the high definition sculpt and the Taolin morph that is on Pauline. This painting can take a relatively long time, certainly when you go to the higher subdivision levels, and it can cause, on some instances, it can cause spiking, because you're not effectively moving something, you're projecting something. And the more verts you got and the closer together they are, the more risk you run to get a spike. So I propose stay at sub D level 1. If you need more detail, go bump displacement or normal map. I think that's all what I'm gonna do on the body. For the face I'm gonna use a slightly lower, smaller brush. Zoom in on the face and paint the face sculpt into the tauline that's on Pauline. You see, when the colors are mixing, you're close to getting there. So let me drive over those brows to get those brows in. Voila. Something like that should be enough for this demo. I did the cheeks, so let's paint over those cheeks. And I did the mouth lines in the eye definition sculpt. So I'm gonna try to get those. I did some work on the chin, and there's that dimple in the chin. So let me get that dimple. I think that's more than enough for the demo. Otherwise it's gonna take way too long for you guys to sit out. I'm just demoing the procedure to follow, how to get the HD morph on a poser mesh. You only have to do one side, mirror right to left, and Poser takes care of the other side. Voila. Now we can delete the prop. We don't need the prop anymore. Delete. Voila. A high definition morph. Here I can do the same to show the result in a rather drastic way. And let's go back to the body. This is the HD sculpt. Off, on. You see all the detail that is coming. I think I forgot to select the body before I did that. So the HD sculpt off, HD sculpt on. You see the detail that you can gain with a HD sculpt. And this is the full body morph off, on, HD sculpt on. This is how you can get a full body morph and HD morphs in poser figures using Blender. ZBrushers can do it automatically, but now other application users can also get full body morphs and high definition morphs in poser figures. Have a nice day!